Today we have a very exciting video ahead of us, as I got the opportunity to have a hands-on look to see and compare also for myself if the €670 Steinhart Ocean GMT 500 can even hold a candle to the €8,900 if you can get one Rolex GMT Master 2 or the Batman. So let's see how they compare and let's roll the intro. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Watch Scientist channel. I'm Chris, and before we get started I would like to ask you, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe. We have seen that around 95% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy our content and if you want to see more, then hit that subscribe button. First things first, of course, these are very different watches. They play in very different leagues, so don't expect me to tell you that the Steinhart Ocean GMT 500 is as good as this Rolex GMT Master 2, the Batman. What motivated me to make this video is actually to just see if this Steinhart has the potential to be an alternative if you enjoy the look of the Batman, but not so much the price tag. So if you can kind of get the feel of the watch that you desire for a much lower price. Of course, as you all know, there's a lot of difference between these watches based on price, build quality, heritage, reliability, on the side of the movement, the materials, and basically everything. So don't expect me to tell you that this is as good as this, because it's not. But let's dive in. Let's just look at the visual differences or the visual similarities that we can see, starting with the dial. So looking at both watches side by side, right away what I can tell you, and what I also suspected and talked about in the last video about the Steinhart, is that they are very different in their general whole styles, the design they are going for. And this is even more pronounced than I suspected. So the Rolex watch is clearly much more pretty and elegant, while the Steinhart looks much more rugged and looks like a beater watch that you can really take outside and do outdoor activities with. So, and that's also basically what I love so much about this Steinhart, because most Steinharts are really one-to-one homages. And even though maybe the differences on paper between these two watches are not huge, they all together make these watches completely different watches. And you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, look at them side by side. They are really giving off very different vibes. Okay, let's start off with the more general features. So the size of the GMT Master 2 is around 40 millimeters, while the size of this Ocean GMT is 39. Which is obviously just 1 millimeter difference, but it really shows. I gotta say, the Batman gives really the impression of being a larger watch compared to the Steinhart 39 millimeters. So let's go on to the dial, which is one of my favorite parts about this watch. If you look on the Rolex, obviously we have the classic Mercedes hands with the lollipop seconds hand and a normal GMT hand. The dial is glossy black, and you have the classic Rolex markers, which are loomed and have white gold around them. If we now go to the Steinhart, this is very different. It has a matte black dial. It doesn't have the Mercedes hands. It has these kind of rugged arrow hands, which are actually, I found out they are from a different homage that Steinhart makes of an older variation of the Rolex Explorer. So it's not completely their own design, but obviously it makes this watch very different to the Rolex. Other than that, of course, we have on this Steinhart these sloping edges of the dial, which gives it a very three-dimensional look, which I like a lot. So let's talk about the date. Many people say that the Cyclops at the 3 o'clock, as well as the date under it, can make the dial kind of unbalanced. That's some reason why people like the no date sub over the date sub. And on the Steinhart we have the date at 6 o'clock. I think this makes the dial of the Steinhart a little more balanced. So let's move away from the dial onto the bezel. Again, these are very different. Well, on the Rolex we have the indented numerals, which are platinum coated, which gives it a very, very nice look. On the Steinhart we obviously don't have this. We have normal numerals. Here we also have a small plus point for the Steinhart, as this bezel is actually loomed, which is not the case on the GMT Master 2, which makes the loom shot of this watch look really, really cool. So now when looking at the general case shape, the Rolex GMT Master is clearly more angled. It has really sharp edges and big shoulder crown guards, whereas the Steinhart is a little more curvy, which kind of fits the domed crystal as well. And the crown guards are not as strong as on the Rolex, which looks very nice on the Rolex, I have to say. Looking at them side by side, the crown and the general case shape looks very nice on the Rolex GMT Master 2. Now looking at the crystal, the Rolex has a flat crystal, which is with anti-reflective coating, obviously, while the Steinhart is a little domed, which gives it very cool distortions, as I said many times in my last video about this watch. And it kind of gives it a very different vibe. I mean, I didn't really expect it to be so different. I really like that about the watch, but seeing them really side by side really reinforces that initial impression, and they are really, really different, which is well played by Steinhart. So if we start heading into the case bag and look at the movement, the differences get really extreme, as the caliber 3285 in the Rolex is obviously much better and much higher quality than the ETA or Sellita movements that you find in the Steinhart. First of all, the Rolex caliber 3285 is what we would call a true GMT movement. So what that means is that you can actually set the hour hand 1 hour at a time, so you can really easily select the time zone that you desire. But I mean, this shouldn't surprise you. This watch is at least 10 times as expensive if you can get it at MSRP. This Steinhart is a great watch, and it has even some plus points over this Rolex. It has more water resistance with 500 meters versus 100 meter. The dial is a little more balanced if you look at the date at 6 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock with a cyclops over it. It has an open case back, it has loomed bezel. Like I said, this is a great way to satisfy your desire for maybe a Batman color combination, and maybe you just want a more rugged watch. Maybe you just want a watch that you don't have to look out for so much. But of course, if you want this type of build quality, if you want the hype around Rolex, then obviously this Steinhart is not going to cut it. So if you really want a Rolex, if you want the build quality, the caliber, the heritage and the hype, then definitely buy this. Go right ahead. I mean, if you can get one, you should definitely get one. But a big thing that I'm going to take away from this video today is that this Steinhart is really even more different to the GMT Master, to the Batman, than I expected. I already knew coming in that they are pretty different, but seeing them side by side is really, really interesting. But let's finish this video off by putting both on my wrist. Rolex chose the elegant, sporty way, a lot of white gold on the dial, platinum inserts in the bezel, very angular case, nicely polished and finished, and obviously the Jubilee bracelet just makes it so classy and so different. On the other hand, the Steinhart clearly goes the tool watch way, so the rugged watch that you can just put on and do outside activity with without fearing too much that you're going to put some small scratches in the bracelet, for example. So guys, I think that is it for today. This was a really cool video to make. I'm really looking forward to see how you will enjoy it in a few weeks. And yeah, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more of this type of content, please subscribe. It would really help us out a lot. We have been growing quite a bit in these last weeks, and we are so pumped about it. We always love to see your comments, so leave a comment down below if you want to see us do something different, if you want to see us keep doing what we're doing, or just leave some nice words or a little of hate if you don't like the video, and let us know why. And definitely leave a like, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.